So there you have it. Twice in the little reading, Jesus says he's going to go out and proclaim the message, but he never says what the message is. This is early in the Gospel of Mark, and a few chapters before, Jesus will say, I have come to proclaim the kingdom of heaven. What is the kingdom of heaven? We're about to go to council, which is the meeting of all the churches in the diocese. And we get together once a year to do business and do a little worship together and party together. And if you had time off in the middle of the week, you could come and party with us too. But it starts on a Thursday. So we party early and we party hard. So last year, when the bishop gave his address to the council, I still have it on my computer and you can find it on the internet. He, like lots of other people, said repeatedly that we are about preaching the gospel and living the gospel and doing the gospel. And throughout the whole time, I kept asking him, I kept thinking to myself, what is the gospel that he's talking about? What do you think? Here we have Paul the Apostle in today's reading, and he mentions the gospel several times as well. He is obliged, he has been commissioned to speak the gospel. And woe to him if he does not preach. But he never says what the gospel is. So, I'll share with you today a number of different gospels, a number of different messages. It won't take that long, because you've heard most of them before, but I wanted you to be able to think with me and reflect with me today on this idea of the message and the gospel. The first four I'm going to suggest, well, if you keep this image in mind, the first four are essentially spokes to a wheel, and the last one I'm going to say is the central message, the central hub of the wheel. Okay, just so you can keep all these in order. So I have four spokes and one hub. Here's spoke number one. You've heard this in different places. If you follow Jesus and you live out his gospel, you will be blessed. And good things will happen to you. And you might even get more material wealth than you had before. You've heard that before, right? Something like, maybe in some places, if you follow Jesus, you will be blessed. And I think that's kind of partially true, but sometimes not. So I think to myself, when I hear that gospel preached, most of the time I think, well, if you follow Jesus, you can be guaranteed to be as rich as Jesus was. Okay? The truth is, as a middle-class American right now, I'm way wealthier than Jesus ever was. So for me, I pretty much reached the top end of that gospel. It's not to say that Jesus wants everyone to be poor and struggle along. I'm just not sure that's the central message. I think it's a spoke of the wheel, perhaps. Here's gospel number two. If you follow Jesus, you will have more miracles happen in your life. You will be more supernaturally inclined and have greater supernatural power. And in fact, you'll have less suffering because God will watch out for you and take care of you in a better, maybe supernatural way than he did otherwise. Well, that's one gospel, and I don't think it's everything, but I think it's something. And I might say, you can have lots of miracles in your life, big and small. But I think you might suffer as much as Jesus suffered. You can get out of as much suffering as Jesus got out of. And I don't just mean the end of his life, which was pretty bad. But there was lots of things in the middle, too. Remember when he got mad and frustrated because people didn't understand his message? He said, oh, these guys. Peter, no, you messed up again. Or the Pharisees or the Sadducees, you guys, you're never going to get this, and I'm really frustrated with you. I'm frustrated with my religion. And he had days when he got hungry and days when he got thirsty. Remember at the well, he was preaching to the woman at the well, and because it was a hot day, and it's hot out here. Everyone's going off to get lunch, and I'm hungry, and I'm stuck out here in the middle with no water. Oh, here comes a woman with a bucket. Good for me. In any case, the idea that we would kind of get out of suffering and have a really happy life with no problems, I'm not so sure. You may get miracles, but you'll also have the rest of it to go with you as well. That would be a spoke of the wheel, but not the center of the wheel. Here's the third spoke, a third gospel. What is the gospel? Some people will say the gospel is that you get to be forgiven and go to heaven when you die. Not a bad gospel. I've heard that a lot. Every time I go to the gym and someone leaves surreptitiously a religious tract in the locker, I don't know if you ever have that happen, but there are people who leave the tracts around so that almost like bait. They bait you. What's that piece of paper in my locker? And you open it up, or on the bus, or what? And you open it up, and it always says the same gospel message. Jesus died for your sins. If you believe in him, you get to go to heaven when you die. If you don't believe in him, then you don't go to heaven when you die. And I think that's part of a gospel. I need forgiveness. I want forgiveness. And I want fire insurance. But the truth is, Jesus forgave a lot of people in his day. And I appreciate that so much. And yet, I don't think the gospel is all about the next life. It's not all about when you die. So it's part of the gospel. And I want to be forgiven just as much as Jesus forgave lots of other people. I want that too. But for some people, forgiveness is not their big problem. They don't feel real guilty all the time. In fact, they're doing quite fine. So it's a part of a gospel message for some people, but I don't think it's the very centerpiece. Because not everyone feels guilty, and not everyone is just here waiting for the next life to come. So a fourth gospel, a fourth spoke. Oh, I almost forgot it now. 1, 2, 3. What do you think? I got 4. I know. I'm trying to remember the fourth one. You see, get blessed materially, miracles, forgiveness. Well, this won't look good on the tape up there, so I'll have to wait for the next one. But I want to give you this. Hang on, let me go get it real quick. Y'all talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I'll keep talking, keep talking. Oh, I knew it. Nobody reminded me of this one. Some people say the most important thing that Jesus said was to bring justice and peace to the earth, right? There would be a social justice peace. So that if you follow Jesus, you'll be the one working and also participating in like a new earth where everything is just and righteous. Almost as if, just think if we had an all-Christian country and an all-Christian government, and everything got to be done just the way Jesus wanted. Social justice. I'm not sure. Jesus did want justice, of course, but to have an all-Christian government and an all-Christian country kind of scares me. I don't know. Unless I was the head of the government. But there's so many different ways of looking at Christianity, so many different kinds of justice, and I'm not sure I want some people to be the head of the government, even though they're nice Christians. You know what I'm saying? And in fancy words, they would call it a theocracy. I think that would be really scary for some people. Maybe for me. So those are the four spokes, and you've heard those Gospels before. Jesus came. If you follow Jesus, you get justice. If you follow Jesus, you get out of suffering, more miracles, less suffering. If you follow Jesus, you go to heaven when you die. If you follow Jesus, you'll get wealthier. So those are all spokes, maybe, and here's what I think is the very center, the hub, which is right out of our collect today. The collect says, give us that abundant life that Jesus had. After the sermon's over, you can go back and read the collect again. Oh, that's what he was talking about. I think if you follow Jesus, you get to have all the abundant life that Jesus had. You get to be as wealthy as he was. You get to be as suffering and pain-free as he was. You get to have forgiveness that he gave. You get to work for justice and peace. But mostly, if you follow Jesus, you get to become like Jesus. You get to be transformed and become like him. On the inside and on the outside. You get to know God like he knows God. And you get to live a godly life for as long as you're here. For me, that's the gospel. It's about transformation, becoming a different kind of person, and living out your life here, whether it's short or long, as a person who knows God and lives accordingly. That's all my gospel. If you would like to have that kind of an abundant life, then I say, come follow Jesus, and we'll walk together and live like he lived and become like he was. The gospel of transformation for me is at the very center, the very hub of Christianity. That is the gospel message for me. I follow Jesus so I can become like Jesus. What is your gospel today?